Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DaniyalZi podcast on the Marketer magazine. And today we're joined with the one and only Michael Wood of the Ottawa Special Events. Michael, thank you so much for being on today. I really do appreciate
it. Thanks so much for having me, man.
To give some context to everyone and give a little bit of background on what you do, I know you have a really cool story and some of our readers already saw it. Can you give a little bit of background on how you became an Ottawa entrepreneur and ended up owning a special events company?
Sure. So to get I'll make a very long story as short as possible. So as we discussed in that article that we did together, I toured in a rock and roll band for 10 years, all across North America, and had a good time. I'll leave it at that. And so when I got signed to Warner Brothers out of Los Angeles, or a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, the one thing that they wanted was to bring in their own producer, and the guy that had produced all of our records the whole way through, the goal was to have him continue forth with us, right? And so, long story short, they brought in their own guy, and then Peter Gilroy, who was the producer at the time, said, "You go do your thing, and we'll meet up at some point, I'm sure, down in the future." So in 2007, I decided I was going to stop touring in the band. And so I moved back home. Long story short, I got a job at Algonquin College, where I'm still a prof. So I've been a prof at Algonquin for 13 years. I'm still there. And Peter and I had a music company together. And then we kind of saw the writing on the wall for the music business and the change and the shift. So he was doing live sound at Italian Week in the summer of 2009. And he said, "Why don't you come down and check it out?" And so I did. And he said, if we wanted to, we could get into all of this, the tents, the tables, the chairs, the stage, sound, lighting. And so I went home and I bought OttawaSpecialEvents.com for $8 or whatever it was in GoDaddy.
Awesome, yeah.
And I don't know if it was the best decision or the worst decision of my life, but anyways, I joke, obviously. It's been this incredible ride. So in 2010, we incorporated. The phone started ringing like crazy. And so we did a thing that was different was that we put everything under one roof. So prior to this, you would have had to have gone to a party rental store, audiovisual, sound and lighting, tent, and we put it all under one roof, and people seem to gravitate towards it. And anyways, 10 years later, we're still in business, and it's a crazy thing.
So can you, I'm going to jump back to Algonquin. There's actually a question that I actually like to ask the teachers in Canada whenever I get a chance to talk to them, the teachers or profs. How do you feel? Well, first of all, what do you teach right now at Algonquin?
So I've taught at Algonquin for 13 years, as I'm saying, and I teach in a program called Introduction to Music Industry Arts. So when I first applied, I didn't even apply. I got an email from somebody at Algonquin saying, "Hey, your name keeps circulating. Would you be interested in teaching in this new music program?" And I was like, absolutely. So I think, honestly, when I walked in, I had a Guns N' Roses t-shirt on, and I probably had my hat on backwards or whatever the case is. Because I didn't know it was an interview. I just thought it was a get-together, to meet a couple people. And, here's the crazy thing. I'll tell you something that's pretty cool. And I tell this story all the time.
Yeah.
They said to me, "What are you going to do that's different than anybody else that we've interviewed?" And I told them, I said, "I am going to Skype in my rock star friends." And you know what they said to me 13 years ago?
What did they say?
They said, "What's Skype?"
Oh my God!
That was 13 years ago, So and Skype's only probably been around for 13 and a half years or whatever it is.
Of course, yes.
So they didn't know, and I said, it's this cool video conference calling thing we take for granted now that you and I are on. And I said, I'm going to have these people Skype in. So over the years, I've had Brett Wilson, who people would know from Dragon's Den. I've had Jan Arden. I had Phil Ramone, who was the producer on Marilyn Monroe's Happy Birthday to JFK.
No way.
Yeah,
that's cool. So that's very cool.
It's been awesome. And so this year, I had some others, but there's a guy named Dan Cantor who is from Ottawa. We went to high school together, and he was Justin Bieber's guitar player and musical director for 8 years. And he just produced that whole "Lean on Me" thing that came out last week or whatever.
Oh, really? Oh man, that's like a top that's like a top 20 song. That's insane.
Yeah. So
oh my God.
He's involved in that. So he Skyped in with my students. So a bunch of my students have been texting me now that they've graduated, and they're like, "Hey, Dan Cantor, the "Lean on Me," and I'm like, hopefully you guys feel closer to it, And so that's kind of, my Algonquin story is that they didn't know what Skype was, and respectfully so, right, back then. And it's become a big part of my class. And then I teach another course called Behind the Scenes in General Arts and Science, kind of a life skills course. And, a lot of people that would know me would find it quite ironic that me, this grown man that really has no life skills, is teaching life skills to students. And then in the winter, I also teach marketing and entrepreneurship. So
that's cool. So I think you have some life skills. I think you've been through quite a bit in life to pass on a little bit of that knowledge. So I want to ask, in post-secondary institutions in Canada, do you feel like there's a lot of room for improvement right now in terms of in terms of just modernizing the education system? Do you believe it's a little bit archaic at the moment?
That's a great question. And, a lot of people say, like, is school going to be going more and more online as time goes by, right?
Right.
I think, and I truly believe this, that people should go to post-secondary to get the education should be number 3 or number 4 on the list as to why you go. I think that you should go for personal growth. I think you should go to meet people of a similar mind that can help you grow and help you get to where you want to be. And I think you should have some fun. And then, the courses obviously are why you should be there, and that's what you're interested in. But there's more to it now than courses. But I still think, and I ask the students all the time about this, I'm like, do you want to do this online in the future? Or do you still want to come in and have that regimented every, Monday at noon, we have class? And all of my students over the years have said, we still want it regimented.
You just on the schedule and be able to come to class and experience that. I understand that. And I do think that it is definitely something that should be permanent for obviously specific programs. You need to come to class, specific science programs and other business classes. You do need to come, and you do need to be able to learn that person-to-person relationship. So we kind of wanted to talk about also your business background. And in terms of business, what are you? How are you right now? I think a lot of our viewers kind of want to know that how is Ottawa Special Events doing now. I know that is Algonquin still something you're doing online, and is Ottawa Special Events still something that's ongoing?
Sure. So for me and the winter semester professors, right? It is over. Like, the school year is over. It ended mid-April, and so I'll be going back in the fall. So right now, for me, I'm not in school. I know that there's spring and summer semesters, but I can't speak for that. I'm not involved. I'm not sure what is taking place there. Mm-hmm. With regards to Ottawa Special Events, we saw 96% of our revenue evaporate. I'm getting comfortable now. I'm going to slide in here. We saw 96% of our revenue evaporate over 72 hours, and now, like, we are a zero revenue business. We have nothing coming in per se, or we have nothing happening right this second. We got an email today where somebody's looking for some barriers from now till September. So great. So maybe that's going to change. So we do have crowd control things that I think some businesses are going to be looking for. But, you know, for the most part, all cards on the table, we have come to a screeching halt right now.
So how many employees did Auto Special Events have during a good season before all this?
Sure. So, and this is a trickier part too for us, where December to March is our slow season. So, you know, a lot of people, I would see people posting online, and not small business owners either. You know, they were perhaps less educated on how all of this works, but they're like, how do small businesses not have the money to carry through? Well, for my business, we do if this had happened in September, right? But the thing is, when COVID hit, it was in March. So we were coming out of our slow season, and then we ramped right up. And, you know, the first big one I think that we do every year is Tulip Festival. So that's a tough scene for us. So during our slow season, we have 20 people that work full-time. And then during our busy season, we've got 32, 35 full-time people. And then we would bring in an additional 50 freelance technicians over the course of the summer.
There's a lot of people that unfortunately aren't working there anymore. It's been a couple of weeks since a lot of the government programs were announced. Were those helpful at all? And I asked because you're a small business owner that was a real small business. You had a good amount of employees, and you were running business year round. So how were you helped, if in any way?
Sure. So, and that's a great question. So, number one, we pretty much were probably the first small business to lay people off, which was heartbreaking because of our staff that we have, the majority of them are my former students. I'd say 80% of them are my former students. So we've all known each other a long time. I think the youngest on the seniority list, for that matter, is 3 years. You know, in terms of everybody worked there for so long. And so, you know, it is a temporary layoff. So like all cards on the table, it is a temporary layoff. Our plan is to bring people back. Our plan is to reopen. So the $40,000, you know,
the emergency bank account. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, was helpful, but for a lot of people, it's not enough. For me, it's not enough. But what I was able to do is I was able to get deferments on just about everything. So whether my business partner and I have life insurance on each other, and so there's probably, you know, $1,500 or whatever. I'd have to check the exact number. I was able to get that deferred. I was able to get our $5 million in liability brought down to $500,000, and then have that deferred.
Good.
You know, and so our equipment leases, you know, we had that deferred. Everything I've really had deferred. So that helps. But without the deferments, our operating costs with no staff is $50,000 a month. I was talking to a restaurant that everybody in Ottawa would know. I was talking to the owner the other day, and his operating costs are $40,000 a month without any customers, right?
Yeah,
and without any staff. So, you know, everybody has got their struggles. The wage subsidy thing is interesting to me, because the wage subsidy thing only applies to a very specific business. It does not apply to a zero revenue business. And why I say that is Ottawa Special Events, we have nothing going on, as we've talked about. And the thing is that, let's say, for instance, I don't know what the exact numbers are. I don't have them in front of me. But for any business, let's look at it this way. If your payroll is $80,000 a month, okay, 90,000, 100,000, even we'll do easy math here, 100,000 a month. Even if that wage subsidy was at 90%, which I think I brought up with you in the interview that we did in the article.
Right. Yeah.
Even if it was at 90%, most small businesses, when they have no revenue coming in, don't have $10,000 a month to give to staff when there's no business coming in.
Yeah. 100%.
And what's that staff going to do? Like, they're going to sit there. So, which then brings up the next problem, though, is the SERB And there's a lot of small businesses that are now saying the staff are more interested now in just collecting the SERB and not going back to work, right?
I read about that as well. It's very, very interesting that that people can actually be paid, like, just because of their circumstances. They're thinking, I'm getting $2,000 a month at home. Why do I want to let go of that, even if it's temporary? Why not stick to it as long as possible?
Let me maybe because I think I'm older. I got more grays, and I might be slightly grumpier than most. But the thing is, it's like, I don't want to stay here. I want to get out. I want to work. I will go to work for free at this point to get out of my house to do something. So I think, as much as that rumor is floating around, I don't think that situation's as grave as it's being made out to be, where people don't want to go back to work. I think as a whole, most people do want to get out and do anything. I'll go dig a ditch right now if I have to,
Yeah, no, it's not fun being at home 24/7, especially if you're with your family or extended family and you have to stay together. I don't think any person can stay together 24 hours a day for that long.
Crazy, eh?
But so how are you feeling about the overall government response, just in the general, just going beyond entrepreneurship, but just in a general scale of things? Do you think they should have started earlier? Do you think it started a bit late? Where are you on that?
So here's how I look at the response. I look at it now and say it's a lot easier for us all to sit back and say woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? I think that this was being at an incredibly fast pace. I think that we've never dealt with anything like this before. So, being a college prof, I'm flirting somewhere between a B+ and an A-. You come to class one more time this week, you might get your A. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. And there was various points that I would have given them an A+, and there's other points I would have given them a C on certain things. But I think, truthfully, it's a lot easier for us all to sit back and say, well, I would have done this or I would have done that. I don't think that's, and I'm not taking away from your question, I don't think that's helpful for people to do that. I think we look at what we have, where we need to go, what solutions can we continue to build on. But, if this was our 10th time going through this, I might be more critical.
You might be a bit more concerned.
Exactly, right? But this is the first time. And I think that everybody, and, Justin Trudeau, Doug Ford, whoever else, the premiers, they're going to get all the credit for solving this problem. When I really think it's the public service people behind the scenes that work for all these government departments that were putting this together, that I think deserve a lot of the credit to trying to save the economy.
Well, speaking to that, I think a lot of it comes from individuals like yourself too. Like, speaking to the work you've been doing on social media and speaking to the different political leaders and bringing the ideas of entrepreneurs to the table. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about that and how you came up with taking action on essentially start trying to help entrepreneurs and trying to make our voices be heard.
Sure. So it's a good question. And so what ended up happening was, and again, like I told you that earlier, that I saw the writing on the wall for the music business. I'm not trying to claim that I'm clairvoyant or I host a psychic fair or anything like this, but I did see the writing on the wall coming that, things were going to start shutting down. So I have a friend of mine who's a city councilor, and I called him and I said, here's where I think we're headed. I think this is going to be really, really bad for a lot of businesses. What do I do? Like, what's my first step? And he said, you need to start calling your MP and MPPs right away. And you need to start at least telling them where you're at. So this was pre-shutdown of everything, because I sent my initial letters from Algonquin. Like, I had gone back that night to kind of just find a quiet spot. I went into the room that I teach in, and I literally sat down and I started drafting these letters. I sent one to Catherine McKenna, I sent one to Lisa McLeod, and I sent one to maybe Pierre Polyev. I can't remember who the third was. So lo and behold, like, shockingly, and I mean that in very respectfully, I get a note back from Catherine McKenna's office saying the minister is willing to speak with you. And I was like, holy moly, you know, like, this is not the world I live in. I'm like rock and roll. Actually, I see you sipping your coffee, and give me 1 second here. I'll show you how rock and roll I am. So, here we go. I've got my...
This is going to be good.
Oh, you can't... There we go. We got the Guns N' Roses.
Oh, my God. That's beautiful.
And if we have time, I don't know if you saw that Axl Rose and Munchin in the U.S. are in a Twitter war with each other. So we can talk about that later. But
oh, for sure, yeah.
So I ended up calling. How did it happen with Catherine McKenna first was I called her office and I said, I got a guy named Josh, and I said, Josh, here's the problem. I think small business is about to go bankrupt. And he listened, and this was 8 weeks ago when I said this. I said, dude, we are on the verge of bankruptcy as a country. I'm not talking about me and OSC. I'm just talking about the country. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'd like to speak, with the minister. And as I said to you, she emailed me back and said, I will meet with you, and I'll meet with Su-Ling Ching from the Board of Trade. So had that call. It was 35 minutes. I'm still in disbelief that happened, only because I never thought. I thought like people who write, like my dad. Okay, listen, my dad tells me I wrote a letter to this person today, and I wrote a letter to this politician, and I always thought to myself, he's wasting his time writing these letters, And but that's, I kind of, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. So I wrote this letter. Minister McKenna got back to me. 35 minutes of a call. That was when we were at a 10% wage subsidy. And I told her on the phone, I said, it's not going to work at 10%. It's not going to work at 75 either, but you're going to have to figure something else out. And I'm not sitting here, my man, saying I had anything to do with the changes. All I'm saying is just what was brought forward. So I had this idea that, maybe I can influence change. And I have this huge social media following. I have no idea why, but I do have this social media following. And so I reached out to Minister Mona Fortier, and she wrote me back saying, I'll definitely do this with you. So I did that with Su-Ling Ching as well from the Board of Trade. Marie-France Lalonde and I, who's an MP for Orleans, her and I spoke. Pierre Polyev called me today. Or not today, sorry. He called me 5-6 weeks ago. I did speak with his office today. That's where my brain was going.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so he called me probably 5-6 weeks ago. And it's just snowballed and gotten bigger and bigger. And I will tell you, like, for all of the small business people in Ontario, Crabmeat Shikaria, who's a minister of small business, might be the greatest human I've ever spoken to in my entire life.
Really? Talk a bit more about that.
So I sent a note to his office. He's a minister of, as I say, small business for Ontario. Mm-hmm. I laid it all out for him, and I said, listen, I'd like to meet with you. I think that we need to have a round table. So on Good Friday, he said to me, are you available to meet? I told him I was. Him and I met for an hour, one-on-one. I tried to present solutions. And then we had a roundtable with 70 small business owners in Ottawa. And he listened intently. sent all a personal message saying, thank you very much for putting this together and for being part of this to all of them. And so it was really classy. And now we're working on other things. We've got something else between the minister and I. We've got another advocacy project we're working on together. And, the one cool thing, I will tell you this, LinkedIn, where you and I think, know each other from the most, is incredible. And so
it really is.
It's amazing. So
it really is.
For sure. So instead of going after these ministers directly, I find out who their chief of staff is, which is a quick Google search. And then I turn around and I add them to LinkedIn. They cannot escape me. So,
you're gonna get them one way or another, right?
Well, if I put my missile lock on you, you can't get away.
You can't escape that.
Exactly. So, as an example, and for all of your viewers, like, I'm not doing anything that they can't do as well. And I don't
which is the beauty of it, right? You took that initiative, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got to add that initiative you took is extremely like it's confident. And we need a way more of that in our community if we're going to, because there were so many entrepreneurs that were sitting at home like complaining like, oh, it's herder, there's nothing going on, there's nothing happening, and they'll never listen to me. But you took a chance and they did. They listened to you.
Man, I live in Barrhaven in a small home in Barrhaven, like 1,600 square feet. I drive a 2010 F-150. I own a small business. I'm real. I'm just a normal guy. Like, that is it. I've done cool things. I've done some real cool things, but I'm just a normal guy. And I was like them too, where why would they listen to Mike Wood? Like, who cares what I have to say? And then all of a sudden they started listening to me.
They care.
So here's the crazy thing. I spoke to Bill Morneau's office, okay? And because when I get passionate, I draw on things. I almost drew on my kitchen counter here.
Oh,
So then I called Bill Morneau's office. I said, listen, so I spoke to them, let's say week 2 of COVID, okay? Week 2 of like the shutdown type thing. Super helpful, super wonderful. I just spoke to his constituency office in Toronto, and they said, we're going to get back to you. Okay, fine, whatever. So then I spoke to somebody else, and I said, I'd like to set up a call with Minister Morneau. No, can't happen. Okay. So I decided that I would find out through a Google search who his chief of staff was. Like, I'm not playing. So then I find out that his chief of staff is somebody named Elder Marquez. So anyways, I go into LinkedIn. I'm like, Elder Marquez. Comes up. I think he's even, I'm going to look this up right now, actually. And he'll see that I was looking. Yeah, so anybody can do this. I go on LinkedIn. Oh, he's even got the premium account, the little gold IEN.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
I don't have that. So anyway, it says Chief of Staff to the Minister of Finance of Canada. So I'm like, this is my guy. And he kind of looks like Colin Jost a little bit from Saturday Night Live, the guy that does Weekend Update. So anyways, I sent Elder a message through LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, my name's Mike Wood. I own Ottawa Special Events. I'm representing small business, or I'm trying to represent small business. I would like to ask you if you're available for a meeting. He writes me back saying, please call this woman, Emily Gale, which I did. She is the assistant to the parliamentary secretary. So I called Emily. I'm like, hey, Emily, what's going on? Mr. Marquez told me to call you. And she's like, oh, yeah. She goes, I know who you are. And she goes, we can have this meeting, but it has to be either tomorrow or Wednesday. And so I spoke to him on the Monday. So I said, which works best for you? She goes, I'll call you back. Emily Gale calls me back. She goes, Wednesday work for you? I'm like, perfect. So in terms of making this happen, it happened because of Google. It happened because of LinkedIn. It happened because I wanted it to happen. And this can, anybody watching this, any of your followers, I am not trying to make this sound simpler than it is. It really was that simple. And my students this year, one in particular, I had one girl tell me as we were going through like building your career, she goes, "It can't be this simple." And I'm like, "I'm telling you, work at it and you can do it." And anyways, I've got Elder's picture up here. Wonder if I should do this. 1 second. This can't get me into trouble. 1 sec. I gotta get rid of this think local first thing first, I think. So we're gonna remove that. Remove that. Remove it. There we go. Whoops. I don't know if that's dancing around too much for you.
That works, yeah.
Yeah, so he's right there.
There he is.
He's on LinkedIn, and any one of your followers can turn around and reach out to him.
And just hit him up and give him a shout and tell him anything they essentially need to. And that's the beauty of it. It's people overcomplicate things like this. They believe
100%.
that they have to go through 1,600 different levels and maybe you have to wait six weeks just to be able to get a letter that says no. But I mean, that's the beauty of technology, right? It makes it so easy. And this is the job of these people. They're there to listen to their constituents, and I think that's great to do that.
And so, today we had a bump in the road. It's the first time that I had one of these sessions cancel on me, which it was disappointing. But the thing is, I can either sit here, because I put on Facebook, I'm like, look, Parliamentary Secretary X, we'll leave it at that for now, canceled the session. I'm really sorry, and people understood. But, that's the only time that's happened in 8 weeks where one of them has turned around saying, "No, sorry, I can't do this."
Yeah. It's and you got like 5, 6 more yeses and 1 no. That's an incredible that's an incredible result. That means you're talking to all those people, and eventually whoever said no, maybe they turn around and come back. But even if they don't, you already reached your message to so many people, and I think that's what's important. Just getting started.
The coolest one, and truthfully, when I had Sean Fraser and Jan Fouché. Sean Fraser is a parliamentary secretary to Bill Morneau, who I kind of view as like number 2, 2.5, 3 in Canada. So we look at Justin Trudeau, and then there's Chrystia Freeland and Bill Morneau.
Yeah.
Depending on where you put Chrystia Freeland and Bill Morneau, that's why I'm saying. So I had his parliamentary secretary, and I had his special advisor on policy for an hour with Ottawa small business owners, thanks to Elder Marquez that I put together through LinkedIn. That's pretty cool that can happen like that. And you know what? Truthfully, at the end of the day, it's another reason why we should all be so thankful we live here in Canada.
It is. It's not something. It's incredible that we can actually do these kind of things here. And it's just nice. It's people reply, people respond, and as you reach your message to them, if more of us did the same thing, I think there could be real benefits to real changes that come with it. So you were talking. I want to get back to something you said. You said there was a Twitter war. What was that about?
Okay, so there is a Twitter war right now between Axl Rose, who is a singer for Guns N' Roses, and back in the 90s, right? Axl Rose was this kind of badass lead singer in this rock and roll band. And with Munchin, I think you pronounce his name that way, the president of the Treasury Board in the U.S. I think, here it is, I can call it up real quick. So, if you check it out, it says Axl Rose, it's on CNN, Axl Rose and Munchin, Munchin, engage in a not-so-civil pandemic Twitter war. And, because if we have to look at, you asked me at one point about maybe the response or whatever the case is, if we're going to give them a B+ to an A-, if we're going to do a bell curve in comparison to others, and we look south of the border for one quick second. That's a disaster, right? And so it just says here, Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose didn't hold back his view of Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin setting off a Twitter spat. And so anyways, I guess Axl Rose had said, you know, there's a profanity there, so we'll leave that be.
Yeah. Profanity is fine. Don't worry.
So it says 2 hours later, Mnuchin, so she's the Secretary of the Treasury for the U.S., wrote back asking Axl Rose what he had done for the U.S. lately. And Axl Rose had said, you know, well, I'm not responsible for an administration that killed 70,000 people. So anyway, yeah, some are more frustrated than others, I guess, right? So yeah.
Wow, that's intense. And there's a lot of those Twitter wars going on lately. You saw Elon Musk's outburst recently as well. I don't know if you caught that one.
I didn't see it.
No, he just went on a tirade on Twitter, and he was just like, "Free America now," and liberties are being destroyed, things of that nature. It was actually it was incredible to watch. And then, but you know, people are starting to get a little bit impatient. But I think patience is key right now for businesses and everyone in general. I think people have to take it easy and just kind of let these things always. At the end of the day, they always pass, and we should be happy right now that, you know, we're alive. You don't thankfully that either of us and almost everyone I know didn't have someone that a loved one that that died from the coronavirus. So we're happy, we're lucky, and we're lucky we're living in a country that's able to employ policies that the general public listens to. It's incredible to see.
Every storm runs out of rain at some point, right?
100%.
It's like this morning. The clouds ran out of snow on May 8th at some point today.
Yes, I did see that. That was incredible. Well, Michael, I got to run now, but let's do this again. I wish we could speak for longer. I have so many things I do want to continue asking you, and let's keep up with your continued goals and your different ways to reach out to the political community. I think it's really helpful that you're doing that, and I think speaking for entrepreneurs in Ottawa and Canada in general, we really appreciate it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Listen, I'm happy to join you anytime, and I don't have that much going on like a lot of people right now. I don't have that much going on right now, so I'm happy to join you anytime, and let's do it again. I would love that.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much. Take care, and we'll see everyone later. Bye.